Another podcast, boys. MG, how's it all going over there? It's not long to go.
It's getting close, yeah. No, we're coming this week 35. So I feel like every mother that I spoke to this week that I coach, that I saw in the gym, all said that they had their babies at 38 weeks, which would be within the next 3 weeks for us. So, and I think I mentioned this on last week's episode. TikTok is like filling me, and Instagram is filling me with like, if your baby is born at 35-week videos, this is what they're going to look like, and it's like a 35-week born baby and a 36-week born. So, man, I'm just so ready. We got the last little bits that we needed on the weekend. I had to go and buy a bassinet on Sunday. So, Scotty, you probably be able to talk about this a bit more. But how crazy is baby bunting?
You can, especially for your first time, man, you can go in there and
Oh my
you can
God,
drop 10 grand without even like batting an eyelid. And equally with the first one, and you're exactly the same as me. Be like, just get it. I'd rather have it than not have
I
it.
said get everything. Like if it's going to make my life even the tiniest bit easier, I'm like, yeah, buy it. We've bought this little portable fan that attaches to the pram, which I'm sure blows fuck all air on the baby anyway. But I'm like, yeah, that looks nice. Get that too. Let's get that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the second one, you have so much of the stuff already, but equally you don't really know. And equally everyone's different in terms of how they parent, what they use more of versus what they don't use. Like you think we'll bath them when they're little babies, you can't bath them every day, but equally that you're going to do heaps of baths. But equally when they get bigger, it's like just dump them in the shower. Like when they poo everywhere, rather than giving them a nice clean bath to top them up, you literally just whack them in the shower with you. You move them around to get all the poo off.
Yeah.
You got all this to look forward to, bro.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. Yes.
No, it's amazing. It's so good. But you're right. It's so easy to just go crazy in there. So baby bunting shares, if anyone's looking at buying in on the ASX, MG has been shopping and will continue to shop there. So maybe go and buy some stock in baby bunting this week and just watch it go up like that.
It's like Costco for new parents. And I think as a first time parent, like you said, you can see the danger. I think if you've had multiple kids, you become a bit smarter. But yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'll take one of those. I don't even know what that thing's for, but packaging looks good. Throw it in. We'll take that too.
Yep.
But yeah, it's close, man. We're just sort of trying to nut out the last pieces to Maeve's maternity leave. She does a lot at the business. So when you take a body out, we obviously have a great team. The issue in our industry, as you guys will know, is there's only a certain amount of time slots per day for face-to-face sessions. And if you've got 5 clients and they all train at 6 a.m. on 5 different days, well, it's really hard to distribute 6 a.m. clients. If everyone's at a different time, a lot easier to manage. So we've got a few logistical issues to work out because we've got some group class times that there's just no one available for at this point in time. So she'll be wrapping up next week. So between now and then, we're going to sort all of that out. But it's all exciting stuff, good problem to have. And, by episode 85, I'll be a dad.
Cannot wait. How's everything going over there, Scotty? How you been?
Yeah, good, man. It's just business as usual. I feel like this year's going so fast already, as cliche as that sounds. We're already on the second half of Jan. It's good. It's really, really busy. I'm just similar time to MG having his baby. My family's leaving me for a couple of months. So I'm kind of just trying to make the most of these last couple of weeks with the kids. It's hard because even though we're here and we're living together, because I'm spending so much time at work and up in London, and obviously the final semester of uni and everything, just trying to be as productive as I can, wearing multiple hats. But it's good. It's going to be weird in 3 weeks' time knowing that they're going to be over there with you guys. And obviously I'm still going to be over here. It's very, very, very cold over here now though. Like it's here. It's always been like 3 to 5, but this morning when I was driving to work to do my work block at the business center that I work out of, it was -2 degrees. And so they have these big trucks late at night. When Jen and I were coming home from the gym last night, and it has salt on the back of it. And so they have signage saying salt dropping. So they lay salt overnight so that obviously there's less accidents and the roads are not as slippery. So just even things like that, it's crazy. But I've kind of adjusted to it now. It's cold. It is what it is. It's not that bad. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to, in my head, my checkpoint is like Bali, because it kind of breaks it up a bit for me. I get to go there, get to see everyone, get some sun, and yeah, it's going to be good.
I was actually meaning to ask you, because obviously there's other coaches there as part of the team. Have you learnt anything off other coaches in like the art of coaching and maybe implemented it in your business, or maybe thought, okay, that's a good way of doing things. That's a good way to interact, or I like that, the way that person coaches. Have you picked anything up?
As in at the Saracens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I mean, the actual coaches in terms of it's crazy. So the head coach actually, like, he doesn't necessarily do a lot of the day-to-day face-to-face stuff. He has like five or six people beneath him that do all, like, they have their own departments that organize their meetings. In terms of the sports science stuff, it's definitely like I've learned a lot of new communication skills because it's not like you just, you've got the head coach. I also have to liaise with the head of in terms of head of strength and conditioning. So his name's Nate, him and Tyler. So for example, if they're going to do something that might impact what I'm doing, but equally has to line up with the club doctor, like one of the girls who's come back from an ACL. So the surgeon, the in-house surgeon, what he wants them to be doing versus what the club doctor, the physio, the me, the S&C. So you kind of all have to collaborate a little bit, but definitely I think I've always felt like I'm a reasonably good communicator, but I think my communication skills have gotten a lot better purely just through spending so much time with professional athletes and seeing, and especially like we see a lot of females that train hard over in Oz. Some of these girls, like these professional rugby girls, they are ridiculous. And seeing what some of these girls do in the gym, it is frightening. Like how strong and how powerful and how explosive they are. Like they're just like aliens, some of them. They're just freaks. And so from that side of things, I definitely think I have probably just picked up more or less probably the art of coaching in terms of perhaps how things are delivered. And everyone has their own style in terms of like how you approach something. Like you could sit down, you've got a consult, and you're going to go through X, Y, and Z. It might be to meet with a player that's just had all the girls had their DEXA scans last week. And so, for example, going over and seeing, you might have someone that you need to have a conversation about. Perhaps they need to approach their nutrition a little bit differently, but then they may have just had a really, really bad session, whatever, and they're emotional. And so you kind of have to tailor your approach. So it's been very, very different, but there's probably not one thing in particular that I can pinpoint, but it's definitely made an enormous difference in terms of my applied practice, in terms of how I communicate and how I coach. At least I hope anyway.
Is there any female athletes that you've looked at, be like, oh, you'd be a really good competitor? Like, I reckon if you train for bodybuilding, you'd be real good.
There is. So one of the well, there's it. All the girls are very, very strong, but there's a girl in particular. Her name's Sophie. So she's an international. She's a Canadian. She's just, if she was to play Aussie rules, she would be the best Aussie rules AFL footballer. I was like, you should come over here in the summer. She's about my height, and she would be probably around about 90-ish kilos, and she's, would be around about probably 22% body composition. So really fit, really strong, squats close to 3 plates, deadlifts, 3.5 plates. She's one of those aliens that I speak of, and just an awesome human. But just, she strikes me as someone because literally any little thing that she can do to be better, she's like, I'll do it. After the game, trying to get girls. We had a really good win against second place on the weekend against Exeter. And so afterwards, because some of them were a bit more banged up, pushing in some collagen and getting them to have their isolate straight away and to do everything from a recovery standpoint. She's like, walk in, she's got her family with her. What should I do? Is there anything else that you want me to do? Versus there's other athletes that will maybe just, you have to literally go over and give them this, take this, drink this at this time. Whereas she's just willing to learn. So she's one that would definitely, she could probably step onto figure, do 2 years of bodybuilding, and she'd be a professional world champion easily.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah, man.
Genetically gifted, but equally just a phenomenal like work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing
Yeah,
I was
man.
going to ask you, I'm just bombarding you with questions, is have you
That's
gone
cool.
to any bodybuilding shows, or do you know if there's any coming up that you might be able to go and check out while you're there? Because you're there until all the way through till May, so there's
Yeah.
quite a.
So I haven't, but Jenny sent me something a little while ago. The Arnolds, the UK Arnolds are over here. So I'm gonna try and tee that up. Off the top of my head, I don't know the dates. Jen's got all the details, but I think provided that we don't have a game, I don't have to travel or anything like that. I want to try and go to that because I think that would be really cool.
Oh,
Man,
that would be
the
epic.
lineup in the American Arnold is like as quality as it could be. I don't know if you saw the poster the other day, MT, but it was
Mhm.
insane, man. Like, is Hardy's doing it as well?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So it's gonna be nuts, man.
If you could go to the UK Arnold, that would be epic. Because
Epic,
I
man.
heard the actual expo itself is amazing too. So
I've just checked now. So it's the 15th till the 17th. So I'll be back from Bali then. So yeah, I reckon I'll try and go to that. That would be pretty cool.
it'd be good for you to go and watch a natural bodybuilding show too. Like try to go see the ICN or the NBA equivalent over there and see what it's like.
Yeah, yeah, because their seasons they'll start to kick off. I think it's around about April-ish. They sort of tend to line up. Sort of they run similar to how ours do, I think. So, but I definitely am gonna just take a peek at that and see, what it's all about for sure. To see what the caliber of athletes is like.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if you could like sneak backstage and see if you can notice any things they do. Like, do they have salt tabs? What are they what are they doing over there?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely will. It's something that will definitely get done. But like I said, I think it'll be the April sort of the May time, and that will be a bit cruisier for me as well around that time. So I definitely will, and I'll just video call you boys, and you can take a peek. I'll
Have a
get
look
some good
around.
footage.
That'd be awesome, man.
Be awesome, be so good. All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to jump into questions now. We've actually got a big list of questions, but I think that these can be done in kind of like a rapid fire, short answer format. So, all right, cool. Let's just go from the top. So, do you guys work with powerlifters? I know, Scotty, you do. And MG, you've also got a powerlifter too, right?
I do, yeah. I got one, but he's a close mate of mine because it's not my, my bread and butter. I did invest the time for a close friend of mine, and we're doing really, really well with it. But it's not something that I would do for anyone else, really.
Scotty?
Yeah, so I do not as much anymore. So obviously I had Big Zach, who isn't really powerlifting at the moment. He's more just lifting. He's a lifting enthusiast now because obviously he's had a baby, similar to MG. But yeah, so I've had him. His last meet, he did the worlds in the 121 plus class, but equally, he's lost a whole heap of weight. Decided didn't want to be that heavy anymore. It's good, but equally, I probably don't. And he's an exception, but the environment, and I know I'm probably generalizing, in powerlifting, it's very different to and there's not a lot of education nutritionally around that. But equally, some phenomenal people, great sport, like I love it. And equally if you've never been to a powerlifting meet, definitely recommend that you go. It's really cool, really positive environment. You can see some ridiculously crazy strong humans, but it's just chalk and cheese compared to obviously the bodybuilding shows. But yeah, I do work with some powerlifters, but obviously nowhere near as many as physique athletes. And I don't think I would want to do that, I guess, full time in terms of only working with those type of athletes, because it's very, very different in terms of their approach. It's more around lifting heavy rather than obviously focusing on the nutritional intervention to help you facilitate that or the adaptations that come with that. Yeah.
Why do the tested and untested people compete on the same day?
I'm not too sure whether it's just a logistics and a timing thing. I think this is the other thing that I don't love about it. It's not really controlled from a testing perspective. There's a lot of guys and girls for that matter, that probably compete enhanced versus, going up against those that aren't enhanced. And I think some of the federations that you compete in, you don't have to be, well, just like with IFBB, you don't have to be natural to be able to do that. But a lot of them now are just gyms. Like you went to that Apex one, didn't you, MG? Were you at that one?
The reason I ask is you think about someone, like we're in the industry, so we understand, but you think about someone sitting in the crowd, you might have a lifter, say my guy goes out, natural athlete, always has been, lifts a weight, and then the next guy comes out, 15 years of gear and lifts a completely different level of weight, but the crowd would know no different as to why that would be. You think that
that's
could
why
have it all on the same day,
backyard.
but maybe split natural and not natural?
Could you imagine they go, so this guy coming up is a natural athlete, and then
but you do no. All right, so
so
you just split the show in. It's the same day, but you do the morning and the afternoon segment, natural and not natural.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I know. Then this
I think
guy
it's
is
probably
not natural. His cycle consists of. But then
Yeah. I think it would just be the time, because it does take a lot, especially when you've got a lot of people there, you've got people warming up, and then you've got one main platform. It takes a long time to get through everyone, especially because it's not like they just have one attempt. They got to go through 3 times. So once everyone's done their bench, then they got to they do their squat, then they got to do their bench, and they finish on their deadlift. It can actually be, I find them really tiring, especially if you've got someone that's in a later flight. It's just almost draining a little bit. And even for the athletes as well, like I know Zach, he hates having you do a big lift and then you got to wait. Once you've finished your specific, once you've done your squat, you got to wait maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you got to go on bench press, and you got to wait another 2 hours, and you got to deadlift. It's just it's a very long day. Yeah.
All right, next one. What is the most common mistake made in the off season? So just give us one each. MG, you want to go first? Common mistake made in the off season?
taking it too lightly, just thinking you've got a lot of time.
Yeah, agreed. Scotty?
Not applying yourself to the nutrition as you would in a contest prep, which kind of falls under that bracket of what MG said. Just basically thinking that you can take the piss and that you'll just prep and everything will be good again.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about the nutrition, to be honest. It's probably the most common mistake. Everyone still trains. They train pretty hard. Like that really never changes. I think the nutrition aspect is people get too relaxed on it and don't take it as
Too
seriously as
much flexibility.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Cream of rice or oats? We know your answer, Scotty.
You do.
For life,
For life. What is it?
it's cream of rice now. Never used to be, but it is now. I can't eat it now.
Welcome
Since
to
cream of rice, man, when I make a bowl of oats, I'm like, fucking, this is shit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be different and go oats, but warm, nice and warm oats. So just like melts in your mouth, you know?
Scotty, just quickly with cream of rice, I don't know how I have to have it cold now.
Really?
Fucking love it cold, man. So I'll cook it, I'll put the frozen berries in, then I'll put it in the fridge. Once I feel like it's cool enough, I'll eat it.
Well, okay.
I just love that cold texture.
It's probably because of the heat. I reckon if it was cold in the
maybe.
middle of winter, you'd be like, fuck, I can't wait to have it nice and warm.
Maybe.
For me, it's just when you scrape that spoon across the top of it and it just glides
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
like you're trying to create one of those nice, those fancy ice creams, how they get the warm
Mr. Whippy.
spoon.
Mr. Whippy. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's just like that.
Ask me again in winter, I'll see if I'm still cold. We'll see.
Pineapple on chicken.
Fuck yes.
Yeah,
100%.
those
With
sucrose gains.
With barbecue sauce, man. That's
I've never had
And
it.
on pizza too, for that matter.
I've never
non-negotiable.
had it. I've got to do this.
You never had pineapple with
Oh.
chicken?
Chicken, rice, pineapple.
Haven't done it.
Yeah.
Make sure you have jasmine. It's fucking elite.
Yeah. All right. I've got to do this.
But it's a good way to top up some extra carb too, because it's a bit of a different blend in terms of it's more more sucrose, fructose, as opposed to just being like glucose. So they have different transporters in terms of how you absorb the carbohydrate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously the pineapple is room temperature, I'm assuming. You don't heat it
Nah,
up.
you got to have it cold.
Out of the
Nah,
fridge.
cold.
Oh, it's out of the fridge. So the rice is
Yeah.
warm, the pineapple's cold.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any, if you use canned,
Or you can sear it in a pan if you want to give it a bit of a caramelization.
with canned pineapple, it has the juice in it. Are we
As long
using
as
any
the
of the
juice
juice
not in
this?
syrup.
Always juice, no syrup. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can again if you're
Use
like
that as
say
a
if you're in prep and you're allowing for pineapple, unless you're weighing out how much of the juice you're having. Otherwise, if I'm if I'm making a stir fry, most nights when I have my veggies and chicken and rice, whatever's like left over in that container that you're keeping it, because you keep the pineapple slices in the juice so it keeps it whole.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a drizzle just just helps to lift it a little bit.
Okay.
I thought you were going to get some pineapple then.
No, I just went to turn the pasta on, actually, as you saw in the thumbnail.
Yeah. MT, you got to try it, bro. And in Bali, after a workout, ice cold frozen pineapple.
Oh, I'm sold.
Well, I had pineapple all the way through prep.
Yeah, as in your post workout, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, big fan of that.
I gotta say, like food for me during prep, I don't get too phased with like volumes and stuff like that. But when the pineapple went down from, let's say, 300 to 150, that was probably the only thing I noticed the difference.
It's just nice to have on a hot day or after a hot workout.
I
Just
remember
ice
I prepped
cold.
right through summer, so it was
Yeah, it's good.
late, man.
I have pineapple. I've got it in the pantry. I just have it with yogurt and stuff. Like I've never had it with rice, so got to do
Well,
it.
isn't that about to change?
Life's about to get better, so much better for you as of tomorrow. Lots of salt too, yeah? Give it a good...
Well, maybe not at the moment because I'm doing a cut, so maybe not.
Yeah, MT's on the shreds. We should have spoken about that at the start with the intro. You just sort of left that out. That when I had a look at MT's check-in, geez, my smile was from side to side. It was a big drop, wasn't it?
Yeah, I pulled some weight off in what is it? Been 2 weeks?
Yeah. So we had a
Yep.
nice, very, very assertive rate of loss.
What'd you get off?
So I started at let's call it 94 and a half, and I'm down to
Yep.
91.6, 91.8 in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. He's not here to make friends. He doesn't muck around.
No, just switch it on, mate, just like a switch. All right, next one. Marmite or Vegemite? I don't.
Vegemite.
Neither.
Yeah, neither.
You don't like Vegemite?
No.
That's one of the things I'm getting Jen to bring me back. Now that I'm
Must be a wild
like
thing,
to
man.
have some toast with some Vegemite.
Do you want me to bring it to Bali? I'll bring it to Bali for you.
I'm going to get Jen. Jen's going to get you to bring me over some of the actual Australian rice flour as well. That's the biggest thing, because the rice flour here, it just doesn't taste the same. That and some Vegemite.
You want some Mackenzie's?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lucky I've got
Not just one little box MT. So I'm
I
going to have to bring an extra.
bro. I'm Virgin Gold, so two 23 kg suitcases, one is just going to be cream of rice. Just
There you go.
Yeah, the rice flour and then some Vegemite. Yeah, you're going to get pulled up in customs though, so we'll leave them in the box, not in the big bag.
yeah, I would
Yeah,
not. Yeah, definitely not. What is your favorite prep dinner meal, Scotty?
I don't really have a favorite. It was always the same. It was pretty much just chicken, mince, veggies, and potatoes. That was all I have every night. It was just, although towards the end maybe it was the chicken mince with maybe less potatoes or no potato. I can't even remember, and just salad. But I don't really have a favorite. I don't really care.
But it was your go-to.
Yeah, that was just what I have every single night. Yeah.
Yeah. MG?
Identical, man, but just beef mince instead. Beef mince, potato, veg, sweet chili. AM sweet chili every night.
Yeah, a young sweet
Forever.
chili is non-negotiable.
I prefer when I'm dieting. I love beef mince. I eat chicken as well, but beef mince is like a little bit of a treat for me.
Yeah, mine's the same. So kangaroo though, mine's kangaroo, but
I thought you were going to say yogurt and apricots.
Or peaches.
Peaches, that's it. Peaches.
actually, yeah, because before bed I used to have some yogurt with some peaches. It was beautiful. It was so good. But yeah, just my favorite prep meal was just my lunch and dinner, which was the same thing every day, just kangaroo and veggies. And it's the same thing right now. And it's the same thing in the off season. Just add rice and maybe potentially some pineapple too. So
Okay.
do you think it matters if your coach is male or female? MG, you've got male and female coaches in your business. So do you think it matters?
I don't think it matters, no. Short answer, no.
No? Yeah. Scotty?
No, I think it's more the personality, the type of person that you're working with, as opposed to the gender.
Without a
Yeah.
doubt, man. Without a
Yeah,
doubt.
I agree. 100%. Totally.
I think if I can speak about a trend, I think that what I see as someone who's owned a business with multiple coaches of different gender is that the tendency seems to be that more female athletes will work with male coaches and female coaches versus male athletes not working as much with female coaches.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yet if you look at all of my female coaches that have male athletes, they all do an incredible job. But I think that's a hurdle that, is really tough to overcome at times. I don't know what it is with guys that just feel like they have to work with guys,
Mhm.
but it's definitely something that I see
Yeah. Training with shoes or without shoes?
with.
With Scotty?
Yeah, except for when I'm deadlifting, I always wear socks.
What about like RDL?
Yep,
Any
socks.
kind of deadlift?
Any type of hip hinge, I want more proprioception. I'll always wear socks. But equally, one of the things that I love about having my own gym, knowing that it's my floors, everything's immaculate, I can do that. There's nothing like, it's frustrating where I train now that sometimes I'll do a set or I'll have like a bit of dust or some shit underneath my foot that's like irritating me, and then I have to like rack the bar and fix it. And then the other day I literally just got my sweat towel, like, fuck it, I'm just not gonna wipe my face on my towel today, and just like wipe the platform, because I'm like sick and tired of having and feeling things underneath my feet.
Okay. So anyone that is watching the video at the moment, you may have realized that there's been a bit of a outfit change, and also Scotty is not here. We had some technical difficulties, and we've had to now film this over 2 days. So, but we're good to go. MG and I are going to continue on without Scotty. I know the IQ of the potty and the looks of the potty and the aesthetics have gone down a little bit, but you're just going to have to make do with us too. So let's just kick it off, MG, with the rest of the questions in this list. So do you guys have IFBB clients? Yes. So I've had them in the past. I've got them this year and also have them in up and coming years too. I think that, because we specialize in natural athletes and predominantly untested, non-natural people are in that federation, obviously we're not going to have a large amount of those clients in IFBB or that want to do IFBB. So, one thing I find is that, people see a coach that specializes in a federation, but it's more so they specialized in a type of athlete, and that's predominantly an untested athlete. And I think some people make that mistake of going with a coach that specializes in a federation, but really they should be going with a coach that specializes in the type of athlete they are. If they're a natural athlete, they need to go with a coach that best coaches and gets results with natural athletes. We see sometimes is those coaches that are predominantly in that federation, when they do have a natural athlete and they put them in that federation or other specific natural federations, they're not as successful. So really do your research on the coach that's going to best suit you based on the clientele they have, not based on the federation they're predominantly in. What about you, MG? Do you have any IFBB athletes, or you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I have had in the past, and we'll have some this season as well. Sorry, season B this year. But Yeah, I suppose from our end, the reason why you don't see us putting as many in is because, the bulk of our athletes are all natural. And, we've spoken on this podcast many times before about, do we think that natural competitors can go across and do IFBB shows? And we said, we definitely do. Depends on the division and the category. I think a lot of people have this perception that if I want to compete here, I have to go to a coach who's got a lot of athletes there, which, on face value can make a lot of sense. I also think that I would personally be looking at the way a coach manages a prep, their theories, their strategies, what methodology do they use, what type of contact, what's the check-ins like. That would be far more important to me as a competitor than like, what are the most of his clients and where do they compete? Because at the end of the day, who they coach and the federation they coach in is not going to be the sole thing that's going to get you through a prep. If you don't have a great connection with that coach, if you don't agree with the way the coach does things, or you're expecting one type of check-in and you get, a really short check-in and you feel like asking a question to that coach is hard, or you're putting them out every time they answer, then I think there's more important things than where that coach has the bulk of their athletes competing. And I think if you go to a lot of the natty shows or go to the big, natty national shows or world type shows, and, there's far less enhanced coaches putting athletes in those shows that have natural competitors. A lot of the successful coaches at those shows tend to have a lot of natural athletes. And the reason is for this, in my opinion, it's like the type of athletes that, I started working with when I became a coach were like mums, let's just say mums that had never competed before and have just started training 2 years ago. So like everyone that I had to learn to get into stage condition was starting from a place of like virtually no experience. I wasn't coaching people who were 5 seasons in and, were on their 3rd cycle of gear, who already, when they started that relationship with me, had, maybe just contended for a pro card or looked insane. They were starting from nowhere. So like I really had to learn the hard way about all the things that it takes to get someone who's coming from this far away and put them up here. And I think that is a great ground for experience. And I think, the things that you learn along a journey like that serve you forever as a coach. And I'll just use an example of my own. I've coached enhanced athletes before. The level of change and work required for a journey like that versus the ones that I've had that are natural, that I just spoke about in the example before, like that mum that I started with, are worlds apart in the amount that I needed to do through that whole journey. So there is a difference.
Yeah, and if you predominantly just coached unnatural athletes and that's all you knew and that's where all your experience was, and then you try to coach a natural athlete, it'd be so hard because you don't have that breadth of knowledge and what it really takes and how hard it is for someone like that to, build muscle or get lean. So I think if we're talking to any coaches out there that are fresh in the industry, try to coach the hardest people that you can get so that it's the most difficult person for you to get lean or build muscle, because that's where you're going to learn the most. If you just coach genetically gifted young people that potentially are on the juice too, you're not really going to learn much as a coach.
I always say, like, look at someone's page and look at potentially some clients they've coached. And if you're speaking to someone, say, have you had any, say you're a mum, 2 kids, you've been training for a little while, but first comp, maybe ask, have you got any examples of some mums in similar situations to me that you've taken from, say, where I am to now? And if someone's got the proof, then that person's, got a pretty good idea of what they're doing. There's plenty of great coaches out there, and there's plenty of coaches with lots of experience. So, but don't make the federation where they have their athletes the main deciding factor into who you pick as your coach.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell which competitors will win whilst they're still in the early phases of their prep?
Yeah, I feel like this question comes up in different sort of, It's been asked in different words so many times. You never know who of your competitors are going to win early in prep. I think we've said this before. We definitely know which athletes present, a certain shape and structure, and even the way muscle sits against the skin for one athlete can be different to another. Another factor is like where an athlete holds all their body fat in off season. I've got athletes that at the moment, are deep in off season. If you looked at their midsection, you wouldn't know, but a lot of their body fat is sitting on their glutes, which when they're training in shorts, they just look phenomenal and huge. So you never know who's going to win. You never know who's going to show up. You certainly have an indication as to athletes that you think are going to present and be in the top conversation. But I mean, I've thought that about athletes that didn't contend because that just wasn't the look that federation wanted on the day. So that's a beautiful thing about the sport. And that's why I love it. Is like, you just never know. You just never know. And one federation from one regional show to their state show to their nationals can have 3 different types of looks that they've gone for. We've seen that in the past with federations as well. So I think the answer is we have an idea of who we think will be in contention, but we never, ever feel like anyone's going to be the winner.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like you can look at someone and be like, okay, yeah, they've got great shape, proportions, muscle maturity, like everything is heading in the right direction. Everything looks great. But if they can't get through a prep and get there and also learn posing because they've got to know how to present themselves, if they can't put it all together, someone that's maybe less genetically gifted, maybe you thought wasn't as good as them could come along and they put in the work and they know how to present it, they could definitely be beaten. So it's almost like saying someone owns a Ferrari but doesn't know how to drive it is going to get beaten by someone that owns a shitbox but knows how to drive it, right?
Yeah. And especially if it's your first prep, like you just don't know what that, dieted down look is going to be like. How much will the look change? Will this athlete flatten out a lot? Will they, retain a lot of their tissue on the way through, or won't they? So it's definitely hard to predict, but we always have a reasonable idea about, how somebody's going to go.
Yeah, also too is sometimes you might get someone comment, oh, they look amazing, they're gonna win. Like, look how crazy they look. But they're not looking at it from a judge's eye, because sometimes you and I will look at someone and be like, look, they look great, but I can already see where they're going to get beaten. They don't have the glute development, they don't have the right proportions, or sure, they look impressive, but there's gaps there, and those gaps can expose them. So sometimes you've got to have the judge's lens to know how to look at someone and go, okay, are they going to be competitive or not?
Yeah. All
right. How many grams of protein per kilo of body weight do you program for bikini girls? But let's just say anyone in general.
2.2 to 2.7, something in that range, depending on the athlete. That's pretty much my low to top end, and I don't really go outside that at all. Unless the only exception to that, and this is probably not with any females that I've coached, is like a male athlete that is just on a really high calorie amount in the off season. And with being so high in carbohydrates, protein is going up as a consequence of that, because if you're punishing 600 gram of carbs, staying to 200 gram of protein can be hard. So I might throw a little bit extra and throw it above that just for the sake of getting calories in.
Yeah.
Not because I think they're going to get huger if they do 3.5 grams, but they just can't keep it under that because they're eating so much of every other macronutrient.
Yeah. So 2.2 is the low end of the range. But yeah, as you said, as other macros get higher, protein will have to get higher just to make food more palatable and so the meals are they can be structured in a way that they like.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people think that it has to be this exact amount. It can be ever evolving. And I think, if you're within that highly studied range where, everyone seems to agree we're in that sort of, let's just say 2 to 3 gram range, I think you're fine. And I don't think it matters too much if you're 2.2 or 2.4. I think it just needs to be specific to your goal at the time. And, your coach should be able to explain, why that is.
Yeah. What are the highest calories you've been on in an improvement season? Yours are definitely higher than mine.
Yeah, the highest my carbs have been is 825.
Oh.
I reckon I was 250, 825, and 70. My fats have never really been above 70 ever.
So what's the overall calories amount that you?
Nearly 5, 4.7, 4.8, something like that.
Yeah, okay. So yours is about 1,000 above mine. I think mine's the highest I got was like 3.7, 3.8 calories. I think my highest my carbs ever got was like 550.
4,930. Okay, 4,930.
So nearly 5,000 calories.
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds fun, but it's not, is it?
No, that was when I was, utilizing cordials all day. Remember I went through that Gatorade phase.
Yeah.
Obviously juices. And it's definitely the time that my digestion was the worst as well. At least a meal a day that I really had to suffer through to put down.
Yeah. That's where you got to start putting pineapple in your rice.
Man, there was definitely plenty of pineapple. That's probably when you can afford to have the pineapple in syrup. What's funny about that story? I reckon it was about the time I was on those calories. I did a post on my page or a story on my page where I had a lunch meal, and it was huge, right? It was like 400 grams of rice, chicken and veg, and the sweet chili sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Scott writes me a message back saying, why the fuck are you still eating the low calorie one? Go and get the full sugar. And I was like, see, didn't even think about it, but just creature of habit, right? I've just been having that sauce for years. And sure, it would have been an easy substitution. Would have gone from like 1 gram of sugar to 12 per 20 mil or something. But when you're so habitual, it's
That happened with me with my veggies. So, as I said before, is my meal was the same. It was kangaroo, veggies, and in off season I just added rice. But I was having the same amount of veggies in the off season,
Yeah,
and it was way too much. And I was just like to Scotty, I'm always full,
of course.
feel bloated. And he's like,
Fiber's
"You want
still
the
good,
same
yeah.
amount of veggies, or if you reduce that down a bit?" I was like, "Oh, no, it's the same as amount as in prep." He's like, "Just cut it in half."
Yeah, man.
As soon as I did that, felt way better.
Of course, man. Yeah,
Creature of habit, though.
definitely.
Okay, I carry all my body fat in my calves. How can I get these to lean out? So, spot reduction, MG.
Yep. Unfortunately, it's not a thing.
Mhm.
And all you can do to lean your carbs out is just diet until those calves finally decide to shed fat off there. I think it's one of the most common things we see. It's something that I certainly have conversations with athletes about all the time. And we are all so different. I literally had this conversation with one of my guys yesterday just about, how we all hold fat in different spots. For me, it's always stomach and chest, lower back. If you look at my legs, doesn't matter if I'm at 100 kilos in my off season, 20 kilos above stage rate, I've still got separation of my legs, veins all the way from top to bottom. As soon as it hits my waistline, it's like a different human being. And there's nothing I can do about that. It's just the way that it is. And for other people, it's different. There's so many competitors, male and female, where, their legs are the last things to come in. Hamstrings, quads. Unfortunately, there is no fix. There's nothing you can do. All you can do in the off season is, if you need to, grow as much muscle as you can in that area so that when you do lean down, it's going to look a little bit more impressive. It's going to push against the skin a little bit more. But unfortunately, the only answer to that question is you need to continue to push your deficit until you get to a point where you've dropped enough composition that your calves will start to drop fat too.
Yeah. And sometimes too is once you get lean, when you put fat back on, sometimes it can redistribute in other areas. It might not.
100%. That's
Yeah.
happened for me, definitely. Every prep, it's been different again.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's been areas that have stayed leaner for way longer. If you look at, our mate James, who just did his last competition, physique guy, long beard, everyone knows Jimmy. He looked amazing. He's now up to, say, the mid-90s from where we got down to in the 70s. And there's so many areas that just haven't taken fat on this time.
Yeah.
He's a completely different look at the same weight, like night and day at the same weight, because his redistribution's just been so different. Equally, this time around, he's taken the process so much more seriously, and he's been so strict on, sticking to his targets and his adherence, that his fat distribution's been way better.
Well, I've seen photos of him post online, top off and, doing poses. And I was like,
And
is he mid-90s?
it's 90, 94, 90, man, 95.
Wow. I
I
would
reckon
not
we had a
have
day
picked that.
96 last week, actually. Yeah.
I would
Crazy.
not have picked that. Because he
100%.
doesn't look like he's added
100%.
body fat per se. Like he has, of course, but, like not.
Doesn't look like 15 kilos.
Nah,
No,
not at all.
exactly.
That's crazy. So that goes to show, like, take your reverse diet seriously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, I've got a bit of a longer one, but I'll read it out to you. In comp prep for season A, been feeling disconnected from my coach. They haven't made any comments on my progress photos. They accidentally shared another client's spreadsheet, and it seems the weekly modifications are almost the exact same. How should I approach this with them? Is it too late to find another coach?
It's definitely does it say how far out there?
No, just
Just
season
season
A.
A. Yeah. So you're assuming you're somewhere between, say, let's just say round numbers 12 and 16 weeks between shows. I'll say it's not too late to find another coach. I've seen athletes swap coaches with 4 weeks left and have greater success. I mean, you've probably had examples of 1 week swaps, man, that you've seen great success from. Ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, if this is where it's at for you now, maybe you and that coach just aren't gelling the way that you like. Can you endure another 12 to 16 weeks feeling the exact same way? As you get leaner and leaner, you're going to get more and more frustrated with what's going on. So unless there's a reason you think that this might change, I would potentially, if it was me, I would have a chat to that coach, let them know how I'm feeling. And if it didn't change immediately, then I'd be out. But if that coach was like super on the defensive and, didn't want to acknowledge any of those things, then maybe it's time to go anyway. But if you can sit down with your coach, let them know how you're feeling and potentially move forward from there and move forward quickly, I think it can survive. If nothing changes quickly, you've got plenty of time still to swap.
Yeah, I agree. You still got time to swap. I'd definitely communicate with your coach and tell them exactly how you're feeling. Be open and honest with them. Give them an opportunity to answer those questions and give you feedback. But if your prep is going successfully, you're getting all the results that you need and everything is heading in the right direction too, sometimes you've got to weigh those things up also. But it could be a quick conversation and everything gets cleared up and you're good to go. Or you could have a quick conversation and things aren't what you expected and now you have time to move on. So I think the answer is talk to your coach and get an understanding of what's happening at the moment.
Yep.
Okay, I'm a first-time competitor and I'm in my first prep. At Christmas dinner, I had a family member tell me that I'm genetically lucky to be able to compete. This made me feel like shit because it means that I'm not putting in the hard work. What do you boys suggest I say if this happens again?
I think Scotty Morrell would have a quick, straight off the bat answer. How does it go? You turn to that family member and,
That's a
wow,
very strange thing to say.
strange thing to say to someone, especially someone in your family. That would be, that person will just melt in their chair. But, what stands out immediately, and I don't know who this family member is, but I'm guessing that it's probably someone who has quite a fair amount of insecurities about themselves, probably looking at you making sacrifices that they probably could have, need to make themselves. I'm not saying to the level of competition, but potentially this is someone who doesn't have the best lifestyle, maybe needs to lose some weight. So it's really easy to sit there and point the finger at someone else who's doing everything that you want to do and make them feel shit about themselves. And that's just what, insecurities do. They bring out the worst in people. Some people can handle them better than others. Others feel the need to make someone else feel like shit. So I would say next time, I would say something back immediately. Like what Scott said, wow, what a strange thing to say to someone in your family, and proceed to explain that, you do this because you love it. And it is, one of the toughest sports that you can go through, but you're never going to change people like that, unfortunately. So equally, just being able to cop it on the chin and move on sometimes can be easier because you're never going to change someone's mind. It's like me and you always talk about MT, trying to argue with someone who's really drunk. You never can talk sense into them, right? They're never going to see it any other way than their own. So sometimes it's just better to just say, yep, no worries, and move on.
If that person is a true blood relative, then it makes no sense because you'd be like, well, we have the same genetics. So if you put in the hard work.
That's a great answer. Say that.
But yeah, you can't control what other people are going to say and what other people are going to do. And you can't let their opinions affect you because you're always going to have people like that, as MG said, that are insecure and they want to pull you down to their level.
But I love that one. Oh, we're from the same family, so you should be genetically gifted too. Clearly, one of us just works a lot harder. Oh, yes. Please do that. And then just drop the knife at the fucking dinner table and walk out of there.
All right. Do you have any past clients that couldn't commit to a prep, but if they did, they would have been winners?
I mean, short answer, yes, I think so. I mean, we answered a question before saying, do we know who would win early? Well, we said we don't. So I don't know anyone that would have won. But, I feel like I've had some athletes who did a lot of work and then got into prep and just decided that the prep wasn't for them, who I thought could have stood up in a lineup and done really, really well. Definitely. Multiple people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had a ton, MT.
Yeah. I've had a couple that I just thought to myself, wow, if they pulled this together and really just followed the plan and executed, that'd be absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I mean, what about on that? How many clients we've both had that have gone through the prep, done really well, and then just taken a back step straight away?
Yeah.
Like not gone further, like won an overall and they're done.
Yep, I've had them too.
Heaps.
Yep. You're exactly right. I've had ones that have won overalls, even pro cards, and been like, okay, done. I'm thinking to myself, wow, like you got so much potential. If you wanted to do more, you could do more and continue to keep winning. And as I said, we spoke to before, right? You could have all the genetics and everything in the world, but if you're not going to put in the work or see something out to the end, you're not going to win. Someone else is going to come along that's going to eventually beat you. So, and that's what I think would happen with those people. If some of those people that had won their pro cards that were in my team or won overalls, if they were to go round two, they're probably not going to be able to get that same result because I already know that they're checked out. They're onto different things in their life. They're completely checked out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something you got to be like wholeheartedly in. Like I was thinking about my journey and what I'm doing, and then I always refer back to Scott and look at what he's doing. I'm like, all right, well, I know he's working his ass off. He's in a different country. He's got 2 kids. he's got coaching, he's now got this other job, and if he can commit to the journey wholeheartedly like he does, anyone else can.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get out of the sport as a competitor what he's trying to get out of the sport, but don't you want to have something to chase down on the daily that's for you?
Yeah. So what's funny is I actually had this conversation with someone that was going to do season A that's decided not to. You know, whenever someone comes to me and says, when they're in the prep or when they're about to start a prep, or, you know, the prep's going to start soon, if they have any inkling of, I'm not sure whether I want to do this, I always tell them, don't do it then, because it's just going to get harder. And if you're not doing it for all the right reasons and you're not ready and you're second guessing already, then don't do it. Do it when you're 100% ready, committed, fully focused, because you're not going to enjoy the journey and you're probably going to regret it. And then after the comp, you're going to be like, this is not for me. I don't want to do this anymore. So if anyone has an inkling of, well, I don't know whether I want to do this, I don't know if I'm ready yet, I'm like, spend more time in an off season then. It's only going to do you good. Let's not do it right now. And I had a client that was probably 6 weeks into prep, and she said, I've been having a feeling for a couple of weeks that I don't know what my why is and the reason why I really want to get back on stage, because she had already been competed multiple times before. I said, don't do it then. Don't do it for that reason, because she's an amazing competitor and I don't want her to lose her way. I don't want her to hate the sport. I was like, let's just wait, and you do it when you're ready and you're 100%. I said, but don't get out of this because you don't want to train anymore and you're going to let all your habits go to waste and you want an easy way out because it's getting too hard. She goes, no, not at all. Literally, I gave her a new program, new macros. She's nailed everything 100% since that conversation. So by no means did she get out of prep because it was too hard and she didn't want to follow calories and macros anymore. She just like, nah, the goal is just not for me right now, but I still want to train hard and look after myself and build my physique. So I was really proud of her that she made a decision there, but she didn't throw everything away. She just continued on.
It was genuine.
It was genuine. Yeah.
Sure. I think athletes a lot of time when they're feeling that way, I'm the same. I'm straight away. I'm like, let's just switch the goal. Let's take the competition away. We don't need to worry about that right now. And straight away, man, you just see a whole change in attitude. That next week of training in the gym always tends to be better. You know, for us as coaches, we're not here to try and force as many athletes as we can into doing comps. We only want people who are ready and in the right, you know, position in their life to go through that journey, because it is a tough journey. So sometimes, you know, we'll speak to athletes and I almost feel after our chat like they were expecting me to try and talk them out of that decision more. Do you get that ever?
Yeah. So I always say, be supportive. Don't try to have an agenda. Your purpose is to care about that person and do what's best for them. Sure. Not what's best for you, not what's going to put another body on the stage, what's not going to get another medal for you. That's not the point of coaching. Sure. And that's the way you retain clients. You get a good reputation. And if they do say pause, put things on hold, don't want to be coached by you right now, they'll always come back because you treated them right. Sure. And you supported them and you did what was best for them.
Definitely. You and I are, man. We're not advocates for competing. We're just advocates for, you know, having purpose, having goals, and, you know, being accountable to something. But that doesn't always need to be a show.
Yeah.
Like I have clients that I coach who were competitors, who I coach now on just improving on everything, like personal development, their physique, planning, like all sorts of stuff. So it's ever evolving, and I don't think that the show needs to be the only important thing in a relationship between a coach and a client or an athlete.
Definitely.
So
awesome. I think that's a good one to leave it on, brother.
Been a good chat, man. Sorry, everyone, that we lost Scotty, but we will get him back. That's actually, you know what's funny? That's the first technical difficulty we've had in 82 episodes.
I know, where we've had to like, okay, we'll end the episode here and we've got to do round 2.
So not a bad run, man.
All right. Well, I'll chat to you soon. Thanks to everyone for listening and sticking around. Have a great week.
Wonderful week.